Hi, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Zara. I am just really trying to get my thoughts out there, trying to talk to people, connect, and find community. And if you are my one singular returning subscriber, thank you so much. You have no idea how much I appreciate you and appreciate you being here. Thank you for being the start of this community. And if you're one of my 4 subscribers who sees this video and you come in again, thank you. I appreciate you more than words can ever say. And if you're new here, I'm building a nice little community here. You can boop that like button, you can comment. I will definitely 100% respond to every comment. And there is a series going on this channel called the Unaesthetically Unemployed Diaries. If you would like to continue to watch me struggle and suffer through a realistic view of unemployment, you can subscribe. I'm doing a 3-month lock-in as well, that the Unaesthetically Unemployed Diaries is a part of, where you will see me post a video here every week, no matter what, for the next 3 months. I'm also doing it over on TikTok, and I am streaming over on Twitch. Now, just a few disclaimers. It is raining, so I do apologize if you hear wind. The lighting fluctuates. My fan is also on because mosquitoes are deadly. I live in a tropical country. Mosquitoes will give you dengue. I have had dengue before. I probably will do a video on that at some point, but I do not want to get it again. Okay? All right. So today, you've seen the title, you've seen the thumbnail. I'm 28 years old. I am very unemployed, and I am living at the mercy of my parents. But I recently turned 28. I turned 28 in March, and as time has gone on, I have nothing to do but think. And so I wanted to talk about 28 things I wish I knew before I turned 28. So if any of you out there are younger than me, which this is the internet, a majority of you probably are, I have learned over time that I think I might be an old head on the internet. I've been online since around 2011. It's been a long time. So without further ado, let us jump into it. I wrote things down. Isn't it cute? Isn't she adorable? A student that I had at a school I used to teach at gave it to me, and I've been saving her for so long. And I have decided to use her for content planning and ideas, and yeah. All right, without further ado, let's jump right in, right? The first thing that I wish I knew before I was 28 was that the time is going to pass anyway. This was something I kind of had an idea of when I started my first degree, which I still don't have my hands on. 4 years of effort I put in for a degree I still don't have my hands on. Again, that's another video for another time. You can come back when I decide to tell that story, because I really want to not be angry while telling that story. So I'm working my way through those emotions, but the time is gonna pass anyway. I tried starting a channel. The videos are privated now, but I think I have 2 videos where I tried starting a channel in 2020. That's 6 years ago. If I had continuously and consistently posted on this channel since 2020, I would have been so much further than where I am now. Not saying that I'm not grateful for where I am now, but I have learned that the time is going to pass, and that's one of the things that I took into consideration when I started my second degree, and I'm working really hard on right now. Summer break is here, exams are over, so that's why I have the 3-month lock-in series, because I have 3 months until school restarts, and I want to see, honestly, with the fact that time is going to pass anyway, if I can really lock in and I can. Honestly, I'm going to be fair. I do enjoy making videos, but we need money to survive. I do want to see if I can start making money online in an attempt, really and truly and honestly, to help out my parents. They have sacrificed so much. My mother is a single mom, but my father has become more of a presence as the years have gone by, and they have really gotten to a place where they work together. I'm like 28, to them a long time, but where they work together for my sake, and I don't want to have to be depending on them forever. And they have been really gracious, with me. And so with all of that being said, time is gonna pass. If you want to do a thing, honestly, just do it. The hurdles of like embarrassment and are people going to see this? Yeah, there is a likelihood that somebody that I know is going to stumble across my YouTube channel. They're going to stumble across my videos, but isn't the point to be seen, And it's not been an easy lesson to learn, and it's taken me time to get there, but that time is gonna pass. Don't regret it. Don't let yourself feel like you're wasting that time. As long as you're doing something, especially if it's something that you want to do, that time is not wasted. Okay. The second thing is, it is okay to be the weird kid. I was the weird kid. I still am. We all have our inner child. My inner child is still the weird kid. As I said, I've been, according to this channel, I've been online since 2011. It might have been a little bit before, but I'm sure one of the first things I got into when I got online was YouTube. So if this says 2011, it's probably 2011. I would have been about a year and a half or 2 years into high school at that point. And the reason I got online was because I was a strange little child and I didn't have many friends. No, that hasn't changed. I am still a strange adult who doesn't have many friends. The internet, being online, has been my world. It's been the place where I felt like no one was judging me. I loved YouTube. I loved watching all the weird little people just do things and be successful, and I loved it. And I've always wanted to do it. It has been a drive. I used to, in the early 2000s, my mother had a camcorder. It's in a shed in England somewhere now, but my mom had a camcorder, and I would spend so much time just making videos. I couldn't have been more than like 7 years old, making videos of just my family and of my baby brother, because he was my favorite thing in the world. I loved him so much, still do. He's not a baby anymore, but like videoing him, videoing my mom, videoing myself, videoing the world around me. She bought me all kinds of disposable cameras so I could take pictures of things. I have always been interested in this and wanted to do this, and it was weird. I also had relatively weird interests for a high schooler in my country at an all-girls school where there was such a heavy focus on academics, and I had my own mental things going on, and I wasn't okay with being the weird kid, and I tried very hard to be someone else, to be something else, and it didn't work. I'm going to be honest, it didn't work. It made things so much worse. It didn't make the bullying any better. It didn't make me feel any better about myself. It made me feel worse. And I went through some rough, and I mean extremely rough stuff, and that actually just compounded the problem. It is okay to be weird. It is okay to be a little bit misunderstood. It is okay to not understand who you are. It's okay to come to find yourself, and I wish it's okay to come to find yourself, and I wish I had known that sooner. I really do. I wish that had been something that I had learned earlier, and it was one of the things I wish I could go back and tell me in the past, that yeah, you are a weird kid, but it is okay. There is a space out there for you, even if you have to carve it yourself. The third thing was that something that I'm still working on, but it's coming to terms with your shadow self, right? We've all heard about the shadow self. I believe that it's not Freud. Freud haunts my dreams. I will put his name. I know it's on the tip of my tongue. I can't think about it right now. I don't know why I'm thinking of Franz Kafka. I know it's not Franz Kafka. But right, the idea of the shadow self, all the things that we repress, the things that we don't like about ourselves, the things about ourselves that we don't want to face, and having that shadow self, the more we repress it, the more it comes to the fore. And I have really had to do some serious work, and I'm still doing it. It really isn't easy, on my shadow self, the things about myself that I want to repress, the things about myself that I'm not proud of. All those things aren't necessarily bad, which is a misconception I had when it came to a shadow self. I just thought that if it was in a shadow, it was bad. Not all of those things about yourself are bad, and that's one of the reasons we have to come to terms with. Some of the things are bad, but we do have to come to terms that people aren't black and white. People are gray. I am gray. We are all, to some extent, morally gray. We all make exceptions and that kind of stuff. So coming to terms with our shadow self, coming to terms with those things that we are so willing to repress, the younger, or not even the younger, just the earlier you're able to do it in life, I think the better, because I am just learning to do this at my big grown age, and it's been a eye-opening and hard, and I mean hard journey, right? The fourth thing is that healing is a constant process. You're never going to, I don't think, in my opinion, but I'm not a therapist. I went to teachers college. I did steal that quote from Megan and saying that I'm not a doctor, I went to art school, but I'm not a therapist. I went to teachers college. Everything here is just based on anecdotal evidence, life experience, all the rabbit holes I have frantically gone down randomly late at night. And did I already say life experience? And hopefully I didn't already say life experience, right? In my opinion, healing is a constant process. I don't think I'll wake up one morning and I'll just be a healed, enlightened, fully actualized being. I am going to be a work in progress until the day I shuffle from this mortal coil. And that is okay. Healing is allowed to be a constant process, but it should be a advancement, right? You should be moving from point A to point B. The cycle shouldn't always stay the same, right? So for example, I'm going to use myself because I am all I know. I've been fired 3 times consecutively in 3 years, like back to back, almost to back. I think I did 2 years at this job, so maybe not in 3 years, in 4, but like it was always that, and it was always at around the same time of year. It always happens between March and April, May, always within that springtime period. I have to now sit with that. What went wrong? I can't blame everything on the schools or the company that fired me. What is going on with me as well? And what am I not necessarily going through that process of healing from that's causing me to keep running up against this wall? And a part of that was that I've always known that these weren't the places I needed to be, right? I was always in these places for a season to accomplish something. I'm not even sure I accomplished those things well while I was there. A lot of the times, especially with the first 2, it wasn't even just being there for a season to accomplish something. It taught me a lot about myself and what I can manage and how I need to better cope so I can manage. Because yes, your mental health matters, but we also need to learn to cope. Because we don't live in a perfect society. We don't live in a society that accommodates all of our mental health struggles. We don't live in a society that even accommodates people's physical struggles, much less invisible struggles. So healing is a process, and it's okay to be in that process, and it's okay if you're in that process for what feels like a very long time. You will improve. As long as you're putting in effort and work, you will improve. The 5th thing I wish I knew was that, let me read the quote exactly. You're not responsible for your trauma. but you are responsible for how you deal with it. I am not responsible for the bad things that happened to me. I am not responsible for the bad things I witnessed. And I do think that the word trauma gets thrown around very loosely online nowadays. The weaponization of therapy speak is a topic, I think, at this point that has been done to death, or the misunderstanding of therapy speak. It's been done to death. The horse is dead. We are and have been beating it, right? But I have witnessed horrible things. I'm not even trying to like exaggerate. I lived in a rough area for a chunk of my life, grew up there, and though everything wasn't terrible, I saw some things that I don't think anybody should see at any age, but especially at the age that I was. And it's one of the reasons I have so much compassion for people in certain situations, because I didn't have to make it out. My mother didn't have to be the mother she was. I personally believe in God, and so in my opinion, God didn't have to necessarily be so merciful and gracious. I have seen what those places can do to people, good people. These places are horrible places to live in, and some of the stuff I witnessed was from that. And I am a woman. We can all guess the bad things that have happened, and it happens to men too. I'm not even going to if and but about it. I have friends, and then I've heard the things that they've said. My heart breaks. We're not responsible for that. The trauma isn't our fault. We can't continue to beat ourselves up about the trauma. But the older you get, you have to take responsibility for yourself. You can sit with the pain, you can acknowledge the pain, you can be in pain, but you also have to take responsibility in some way for that pain, grasping it and learning to grow and heal from it. Yeah, that was I think I really popped off with that one. Can you tell? Number 6, we are, again, quoting directly, because once I write it down it comes out of my brain. We are really just all small kids in a big world. It's okay to recognize your inner child. It's okay to recognize your inner child. I think I am very aware of mine. I still have a lot of what people would call childlike tendencies for various reasons, and I'm very aware of the things that I missed out on as a kid and the ways that I didn't get to be a kid because I was a very self-aware child. My personal brand of neurodivergence causes a lot of self-awareness and a lot of existentialism. I get myself into these ruminating thoughts of existential thinking, and I think the earliest I can remember getting myself into a spiral like that, I would have been around 2 years old, which is way too young. My poor brain was in some kind of soup that I'm just now starting to make some sense of. So it is okay to recognize your inner child, to find things and times and places where you can kind of just be a kid, because you never really stop being a kid. You get older, but you never stop being a kid, and it's a joyful thing. I also think that we need to, when we recognize our inner child, have more grace with literal children. As adults, I think it's part of our responsibility, even if you're not a parent or you don't necessarily have kids in your family. If there are kids like around you, it is kind of our responsibility to be gracious and gentle with the children around us. And the more in touch with our inner child we are, the more we're able to do that, because the older you get, the harder it is to remember what it was like when you had these feelings, because we all have these same feelings, children or adults. It's harder to remember what these feelings were like when your body was so much smaller and you weren't necessarily able to articulate what you were feeling. And it still happens to us sometimes. It's okay to recognize that inner child. It's okay to let them out, experience that kind of joy. I personally think that's what whimsy should be, not why is whimsy contents, why is everything so expensive? Maybe it's because I don't have a job anymore and I have no disposable income, but oh my god, everything is so expensive. I want to live a cute, aesthetic, whimsical life. I can't afford it, like literally. Anyways, that's another tangent for another time. That's another scripted video. Anyways, the seventh thing, the seventh thing, that's where we are, right? Yeah, number 7 is that I wish I knew that my body was going to change and that it's okay. My phone shattered today. There's already a video about it. It should be up already, but I was doing some stuff and borrowing my mom's old phone, and I saw some photos of myself from like, oh boy, this would have been maybe like 2017, 2018, and my face is relatively the same, you know, but I look so different. I'm not saying this in a body checky way, but like I'm tiny. I look at myself and I'm like, I'm concerningly small. Why did anyone let me be that skinny? But then I also remember at that time we had food security problems or food insecurity problems. It was just my mom, me, and my brother, and most of the food that we could afford went to him because he had the bigger appetite, right? I was hungry, but I wasn't really saying anything. I was, even before 2017, I left school in like 2014. A lot of high school I spent it hungry, because if I didn't get money from my dad that week, or the money that my dad gave me that week, I decided to give my mom to help, you know, do something like buy gas or buy groceries, and I wouldn't have it for lunch money. I wouldn't have anything to eat at school. I probably, most likely, even though my mom would try to cook breakfast in the mornings, a lot of the times I wouldn't get to eat it because I was trying to meet my dad to get to school relatively on time. And then on top of all of that, there are certain foods I just can't really eat. It's mostly like a texture thing, right? And my mother wasn't necessarily the most understanding of it at the time. We get into a lot of arguments about it and fights. And I'm sitting here now with the knowledge I have now, looking at what I looked like then, and I'm looking, you know, now at social media now and seeing how people are striving to get that look. And I'm going to be honest, yeah, I do want to lose a couple of pounds, right? It's not like the biggest deal. Of course, some days I feel much worse than other days, and I can kind of track it and tell like what's going on. Also encapsulated in this if you are a biological woman and you are menstruating, you know that the change happens within your body monthly. Something I really didn't understand then. Like, I had the scientific knowledge, right? But I wasn't necessarily thinking about how these changes in my body affected my mind, or how these changes were affecting me physically. It's a whole thing, but it is okay. You know, bodies change, and it's not the end of the world, and I'm still working through it because it is an uphill battle. I'm not necessarily like a big body positivity advocate. I am just like a body neutrality advocate. Like, I want to believe that my body does what it does to keep me alive, and that I should be grateful for it. The way that it looks should be secondary. Adorning my body to look good is a secondary to keeping it healthy and keeping it active and staying alive, which is also really important as a chronically ill girly. Just trying to keep my body alive, when I get bogged down with thinking about, like, you know, I wish I could look like this, and I wish my body didn't do this, and I then remember that you are lucky to be living in the wonders of modern medicine and that you are alive. Because if it wasn't for the wonders of modern medicine, I wouldn't have probably made it past like 2 weeks of life. So I don't know if I don't think it's a controversial take. I hope not. The next one is your past, whether it's good or bad, does not have to define you at all. Coming from what everybody called a gifted kid who never saw that giftedness in academics, I didn't learn that giftedness was like an actual, dependent on where you go, an actual neurodivergent diagnosis until I was in my early 20s, when I was going to teachers college and I was able to get the resources. And when I talk about my specific brand of neurodivergence, I'm usually talking about giftedness. And I've been looking into, now that my insurance is gone, I don't know how long that's going to take, but looking into getting an ADHD diagnosis, because those two things can interact with each other. I've known kids who have had like that peak in high school kind of thing, like you do so well in high school, or you do so well really early on that you are fighting like to regain that level of achievement, or a lot of you made a ton of mistakes, or nothing ever really went right, bad things happen, and you ruminate on the past, whether the past was good or the past was bad. We always say the past shouldn't define you in the ways that we're talking about, like the bad things that happened to you, or the bad things, the mistakes that you made shouldn't define you. But I think it also has to apply to good things. Yes, that great thing happened, and yeah, it was great, and you did a good thing, you did a thing that was hard, but life goes on. There is the next thing. There's that Jake the dog quote. By the way, I love Adventure Time. I've been rewatching Adventure Time. It's such a good time for me to rewatch Adventure Time. I love Finn. I love him so much. Tangent. Let me get back to the point. There's that Jake the dog quote where Finn is he's had the breakup with Flame Princess. It's that Pillow Fort episode, and Jake takes his cup. He said, "This is my favorite cup," and he throws it out the window, and he's like, "Now it's gone forever, and I don't care about it anymore." I think that quote just sums it all up. Sums up everything I had to say with that. I'm going to be honest, a lot of my personal philosophy in life comes from Over the Garden Wall, The Midnight Gospel, Adventure Time, Regular Show, and Gravity Falls. And right now, since I have oodles of time, I started watching Steven Universe, and I didn't have cable at all, so most of these shows I watched in bits and pieces, or I got to watch them as I got older, and I love Steven Universe right now. I'm going to add it into things that are making up my personal philosophy in life. These are the things that made me, when I said I was a weird kid, I really wasn't joking. There's also another tangent. I'm going to eventually script a video on like the animes, movies, and TV shows that made me who I am today. And besides those cartoons that I just mentioned, there are anime that I wouldn't be who I am today if I didn't watch those anime. One of them being One Piece. Pre-time skip One Piece is like peak television to me. I love it so much. There's nothing that makes me happier than like pre-time skip One Piece. Like One Piece has gotten so serious right now, and I can understand like the story ramps up or whatever, but pre-time skip One Piece is what made me want a friend group. Pre-time skip One Piece is what made me want friends, and what made me realize that there are people out there who would probably be willing to be friends with me, because if Luffy can make friends so easily everywhere, and he's so unapologetically himself. I can make friends. Anyways, next, confront your trauma and fears. Everything you want lives on the other side of that fear. I don't remember where I heard that quote, or a quote similar to that first. I know I heard something similar in a Wild Geese episode. I'm going to editing Zara. I'm speaking to you right now. Scrub through Anna Howard's channel and attempt to link the episode, because I will forget. I forget everything. But it is true. Fear is not a bad thing. We shouldn't be afraid of fear, but everything you want lives on the other side of some kind of fear, and we have to push through that fear. Also, with the trauma, a lot of our scars and pain points come from things that have traumatized us. And if anything, and as I said, I don't throw that word trauma around lightly. I don't mean something that made you uncomfortable. I don't mean something that, was kind of a bad time. I mean trauma in the way that your brain has been permanently rearranged because of these happenings. Your brain changed the way it worked in order to protect you from what you experienced, from what you saw, from what you heard. We have to confront that trauma in a safe way, because it's not, and especially there are degrees to this thing. There are some people where confronting their trauma is a years long process that they need a lot of help with. And in my case, where something like that isn't easy to find, and I have to rely on the most reliable online resources I can find, and I have to put something together. The rain is getting heavier, by the way, so I do apologize if you can hear it. But yeah, so maybe I'm not able to really safely confront all of my traumas, but there is fear. This here right now is me confronting one of my fears. I am afraid of people seeing me. I am afraid of putting myself online, but I know on the other side of that fear is something good, right? Is something that is worthwhile to me. I want to do this, and even though I am afraid, it's worthwhile to push through, right? I don't want to scare y'all when I say the next words I'm going to say. Hear me out, stick with me. I am a Christian. I'm not trying to evangelize here, but I do have to give context to what my beliefs are. The best way I can describe it is like, I would say I'm a Christian in the way that like Wendigoon is a Christian. Like, you'll never hear him like outwardly preach to you, but you can see in his morals and his values that he's a follower of Christ, and that's where he stands. So context aside, when we come into Christianity, a lot of the time English is such a literal language is another thing I love. So this is going to be kind of a tangent, but I have a point. Just walk with me. I'm going somewhere. And in the Bible itself, there are a lot of verses talking about fearing God. And I heard that a lot as a child, and I was very confused, right? Because I knew what it was like to be afraid. I knew what fear felt like. And so I was confused by them saying God loves me, but I should also fear him. English is such a flat language sometimes. I don't think it's very good for expressing certain emotions. I learned Patois, Jamaican Patois, as a second language when we had to move back to Jamaica to live. And boy, there are so many more ways to express things in Patois. It really puts it in front of me that English is lacking. But when they say fear God, they do not mean to be afraid of God. They mean to have a deep reverence and respect for God. So when I think about fear, sometimes I do not always think of it as being afraid. I attempt to reframe that fear into that I respect this thing. I don't want to mess this thing up. I don't want to be bad at this thing. I want to do well at this thing. I I don't want to mess it up, right? And because of that, that is where that fear comes from. So pushing through that fear is not necessarily always pushing through being afraid, because when we are afraid, it's telling us something. All emotions are information that we have to decode as people. The fear is information, and if I can decode that information, if I can push through that information, the responses that I get from a traumatic event, of something that happens to me, and the trauma is long past, but something happens to me and I'm triggered and I have these responses, that's also information. And on the other side of the information, if I'm able to push through, that's where the thing I want is. That's where it lives. Right. I won't go too much further with that one because I think I have made my point. But yes. Number 10, which kind of links to number 9. Some crutches are okay. Some crutches are okay. My mom would always talk to me about how I would use, when I was little, I would use reading as a crutch. Whenever something bad would happen, whenever something difficult would happen, whenever I had difficult emotions I didn't understand, I would immediately escape into a book. Nowadays, I think I escape onto the internet, and I've been working on that, but it is true, and she would call it a crutch. No, my mom's no therapist. She also went to teachers college, so in my opinion, I think she's talking about coping mechanisms, right? Not all coping mechanisms are bad, not all crutches are bad. In my case, I've heard, as I said, I'm pretty open about the fact that I'm a Christian. I'm not a perfect one by any means, and I'm also open about that fact that I'm following Christ, but I fall over sometimes. Like, I try to follow his lead, but you know, when you try to follow somebody and you really don't know where you're going, so you just keep falling. Yeah. But a lot of people talk about how people use religion as a crutch. And I've always thought to myself, is that such a bad thing? Now, of course, using religion to do other things, we can get into that another time. But we all need crutches. Some of us more than others. There is a 21 Pilots song from much earlier in their discography. I'm going to find it and I'll put the lyrics up here. It's either Screen or one of them, where they talk about some of us need to sing to the sky, right? It is Screen, so excuse us while we sing to the sky, right? How some of us really do need to have that religious emotional release. Some people can find these religious experiences in other places. I'm a big Hozier fan. I have heard that Hozier concerts are religious experiences for a lot of people. I can understand that. I grew up in London, England. Football is a religion. We go, well, not we, because I never went, but like people go religiously to football games on Sundays, and they have those communal religious experiences. Not every crutch is a bad thing. You would not tell a man with one leg to get rid of his crutches. We all need our coping mechanisms. We all need our crutches. For me, religion, we could say, is one of my biggest crutches. I lean heavily, no, I'm not the only one, but I do lean heavily on marriage, because I have to believe for myself that there is a tapestry, even if I can't see it, that there is a tapestry weave, that there's a story being told, that even if I'm not a big part of that story, there is a story being told, and my storyline is important, and that it weaves a bigger point in this tapestry, and that there is hope out there. And I don't necessarily mean hope in the way, because as I said, I'm a big Midnight Gospel fan. Like, there's a quote where, like, I don't need hope if I figure out that where I am right now is okay. But I mean it in the case where I don't want to believe that when I die there's just nothing, right? I would personally like there to be something. This is going to lead into another point. Doesn't mean I don't question my religion, doesn't mean I don't question God, doesn't mean I don't question the context in which the Bible is written, doesn't mean I don't have these questions, and I ask those questions. Doesn't mean I don't understand my core, right, and my core beliefs, and I have learned over time to be more proud of them. They make me who I am. All right, oh my god, we're not even halfway through this list, and this video is like 40 minutes long. I may split this into 2 parts. So if you see me in the same outfit, in the same position, in the same day, with the same lighting, no you didn't. All right, we'll see by the end of this whether I decide to split this video, or if I keep it cute. All right, number 11. The grass isn't greener, you're just short-sighted and colorblind. We all know the phrase that the grass is greener on the other side, or the grass isn't greener on the other side. In my experience, the grass is not greener. I'm very forgetful, very short-sighted, and I'm colorblind. I don't know what green is. I think over there is better than where I am. I can't even see over there. I'm probably not wearing my glasses. I can't tell. There's so much nuances and what is going on over there. The grass isn't green, and that leads to the grass is greener where you water it. The grass is greener where you tend it, because we can water something and it be green and it's a weed. If we want like nice, heathery, fragrant grass, we're going to have to do the work. We're going to have to tend it. We're going to have to dig up the weeds. My mom has a garden, and my granduncle just came down to help her with like the fruit and food bearing things that she has planted in her garden. A lot of green stuff was out there that they had to dig out because a lot of it was weeds. But now that it's tended, we have literal food in our front yard. Grass is greener where you tend it, not just where you water it. And the grass isn't greener on the other side. You're just short-sighted and colorblind. Next, 12. I heard this. My mom is a big fan of Lecrae because she thinks Lecrae reminds her of my brother. But I heard this with a podcast that she was listening to, that he was doing. I believe he was doing it with his mother. I could be messing up the episode, but he said something and it really resonated with me. Everything is hard. You just have to pick your hard. And that is very true. The best example and the biggest example that comes to my mind right now is my second degree. It's not easy. I already did this once, and although I didn't fail at it, it failed me. I don't have a degree in hand right now. I still have to be working on it all these years later, right? And it's hard, but I picked this hard. It was better than picking the hard of continuing to slave away in a job that was doing a number on my mental health and that I knew I wasn't fulfilling purpose in. It's the same thing right now. One of the things that I'm thinking of is I'm 28, and although on the internet it's not weird to be 28 and unmarried, where I am, especially as I said, I'm a Christian, which means I go to church. Church girls, a lot of them are married by now. A lot of them are, and they are at some point looking to start families, and I am not even considering the thought, right? So it's hard to be married. It's not easy, right? But it's also hard to be single. I would prefer right now to pick the heart of being single. The heart of marriage would not serve anybody right now. Marriage, besides all the other thoughts I have about it, I'm going to say another scary word, feminist thoughts I have about marriage, I would not, where I am at this point, make a good wife to a good husband. Because there are some of them out there, and I'm not going to go take up one and go do foolishness. I'm not going to. So I have picked the heart of being single and the heart of having people kind of judge the fact that, oh, you don't have anybody talking to. No, you're not interested. No. to get even more vulnerable than I have, I was in a relationship for a really long time and I ended it. And I kind of resigned myself to the fact that that relationship probably was the only person I was willing to marry. And in ending that relationship, I know that I would have probably been putting down that option for myself. And I did it. That's the hard I picked. Everything hard. You just have to pick your hard. The next one is, another part of my personality this year has been Anna Howard and the Wild Geese podcast. I truly believe parasociality is not necessarily all bad if you have enough self-awareness to know what you're doing and what's going on. Aside, back to Anna Howard and the Wild Geese podcast, I don't necessarily watch like every single video, but whenever I watch one of her podcasts, I am always blown away by the way her mind works. I love the way her thoughts work. I like that we can come to the same conclusions about things and that she shows me things that are new. Anyways, number 14, originality is a myth. Authenticity, my god. If anybody ask me what is your nationality, you'll hear me talk and it'll be so obvious that I am Jamaican. Authenticity. Oh my god, I moved the laptop. Anyways, originality is dead. Authenticity is the source and the sauce. There's never going to be an original idea. There's never going to really be an original idea. All right. Not even the story of Christ that I hold so near and dear to my heart is really an original story. I believe it's true. Doesn't mean it's original. If God made us, in my opinion, he know, like he's aware. So in my personal opinion, I know that there are I can't remember them now. If I find them, I'll put them up on the screen. There were stories like the story of Christ before the story of Christ was written, right? And with the story of Christ, there have been so many iterations of it, right? We are willing to listen to the same thing over and over and over again, right? And not in just a comfort way. It's all, you may always find, I watch Ice Age, the first Ice Age. I can quote that movie front to back. I can also quote The Fox and the Hound front to back. I watch those movies over and over again. I watch Haikyuu front to back over and over and over again. I'm not necessarily looking for originality. The ideas aren't new, but the authenticity, what makes it different is the people that worked on it, the people that wrote it, the people that put themselves into it. It's why I personally believe that if you want to start content creation, a YouTube channel, a TikTok, whatever streaming, you should, because your sauce, if you're willing to actually put it out there, you don't have to be original. You just have to be authentic, especially right now where I don't think this is a sneak peek of the scripted video that I'm doing. Like everybody, like not everybody, but a lot of people are tired of this over curated, highly aestheticized content that people put out. Your life may not be that aesthetic, doesn't mean that your life isn't worth sharing. And when I say your life, I don't mean you have to like do vlogs or daily content. Your life can be your thoughts. For me, that's the case. My life is what goes on in my head. I am very in my head. I spend all my time in my head. Coping mechanisms for me are me trying to find ways to get out of this cesspool that can be my mind sometimes. Originality is dead. We can lay her to rest. May she rest in peace. She was a myth to begin with. Authenticity. And if you're willing to be authentic, you'll find a place somewhere. You'll find people, which is, though I will not lie, I would love to make money on the internet. I'm willing to do this consistently, even if I'm not. Because I want other people to know because I know I can't be the only person who's like me. Of course, I'm the only me, but like there are people like you out there. The only way to find them is to go out there and find them, you know? Next thing, getting older is scary, but it's okay to be scared. I'm going to get again more vulnerable. So I warned thee. I honestly didn't think I was going to make it past 16. So I didn't make any plans. I didn't think about it. And then when I hit 18, I got really scared. I got terrified. I had never thought about getting older. I'd never planned for a future because I didn't expect to have one. And when it was presented with me, I was scared. And I spent a lot of my early 20s very scared. I am still scared. I'm always scared. I'm scared 24/7. I'm scared all the time. And I've come to the conclusion that that's okay. I just have to do it scared. I just have to move through the being scared. I have to move through things not being perfect. I don't have a cute aesthetic filming spot. This is my closet. This is the corner of my closet. And it's not even set up in a cute way. We've moved so many times that it's been so hard to like collect things. So I don't have little trinkets or knickknacks or stuff. And now when I thought I'd be able to buy them as an adult, I just don't have them. I don't have them. I don't have the money. But I like my room, you know? I like some of my stuff. I'm scared of getting older. I'm scared of things not being what I wanted them to be by now because I never had a plan. But it's okay to be scared. And it's okay to do it scared. Next, I really hope, honestly, this is like such a long video. I really hope that I am not boring y'all. I really hope that y'all are finding this interesting. If you have made it this far into the video, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate you so much for watching any of my content. And please, if you made it this far, I'm sure you like me to some extent, so please feel free to subscribe. There will be a new video every week. I can promise that they won't all be this long, but there will be content here. There's also already content on the channel that you're free to peruse. Boop that like button, subscribe, comment. Please let the algorithm know that you like me so that I can find the other people who might like me too. I will respond to every single comment. Please tell me some things that you wish you knew, because I know that this list that I have here is not exhaustive, and I am always open, willing, ready to learn. Learning is one of my favorite things to do in the world, and I love mostly learning from other people. Although I am scared of interacting with people, I'm learning, I'm getting better. All right, so the next one is another one that I'll have to read directly. My handwriting is chicken scratch. Oh my god, I don't have a good enough camera for you all to see, but yeah, it's chicken scratch. So me reading my own writing is an interesting thing. Okay, the need to cope doesn't make you weak, even if the coping mechanisms the need to cope doesn't make you weak, even if the coping mechanisms are bad. No, if the coping mechanisms are bad, we do have to learn new ones, but the need to cope doesn't make you a weak person. I think that kind of ties into the one about needing crutches. We all need to cope. I spend enough time on Twitch to be like, oh, cope, but like we all need it to some extent. I think if you have certain mental health concerns, you need to cope more than some people, but everybody, I'm sure even the perfectly mentally healthy, go through times when they need to cope with things. It doesn't make you weak, doesn't make you less of a person. It makes you human, and it's completely okay to be human. Next, grief never goes away. Life just grows around it, but you have to let life grow. And when I talk about grief, I don't always mean like losing a pet or a person, although that does happen. I've had to learn to grieve the life I didn't get to have and the child I never got to be. That doesn't mean I spent my whole life stuck in that grief. and it's possible. The most, I still grieve my great grandmother. I miss her so much. I spent a lot of my childhood with her, and watching her get older, watching her deteriorate, and we were struggling financially at the time, and the relationship between her and my mom was really difficult, because she was my mother's parental figure. Watching her, I remember seeing it. I would have been around 14 or 15 at the time, and this woman that I always knew, even when she was in pain, even when things were really hard, because she had a hard life. The matriarchs of my family have all had hard lives, and she sacrificed so much for her family. She lost children. She so much. I love that woman so much. Like right now, there is a letter that she wrote to me. I was about to say I'll probably insert a picture of it, but I don't have a phone. But once I'm able to take a picture of it, a letter she wrote to me, and it is framed and hung up in my room, because I keep a piece of her with me as much as I can. I have some of her old buttons. My mom has held on to her old sewing machine. I will say I love that woman more than words can express. She meant so much to me, and when she died, I have such a delayed reaction with emotions. I don't think I properly even cried about it until like a year after she was gone, when it really hit me how gone she was, and it took me a really long time, really long time to have, because I was also going through so much within that time of my life. I don't think I properly grieved my great grandmother until the death of my grandmother in 2020. Years, right? Literal years. I grieved both of them at the same time, and they didn't even get along with each other. Those two women, my maternal grandmother and my maternal great grandmother, did not get along with each other. But they were two women in my life. Those two women are the reason I'm still learning feminist theory, but those two women are the reason I believe in feminism. Hearing their stories and watching how they had to live have made me they put a fire in me when it comes to. My mom always asks why I get so angry when I talk about this stuff, because somebody has to be angry on their behalf. That was such a tangent. I get onto tangents when it comes to my great grandma. My grandma, I love them so much. Love them. I kind of think it's one of the things I think I regret. I don't think I ever expressed to them really how much I loved them. I lost my grandmother to COVID. I wasn't expecting her to die, and it happened so quickly. That with my great grandmother, I know I used to tell her all the time how much I loved her, and I still don't think it was enough. But life has grown around the grief. I have cousins that I am closer to now because we all loved her. When it comes to my grandmother, I think I was probably her closest great grandchild because my mom was basically her kid. But when it comes to my grandmother, losing my grandmother in some ways made some parts of our family closer because we all loved her. And she was the same. She didn't hold any favorites. She was the same to all of us. She loved all of her grandchildren, all of us, and she loved all of her great grandchildren, which would be still my cousins. If my cousin's child is also my cousin, right? Yeah, I'm not going to cry. She wouldn't. None of the two of them would want me to cry. Right. Oh my god, I can't count. Oh my god, guys, I can't. I got to number 17 and calling a number that has 10. So that's, oh my gosh, so that's 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. Oh my god, I have a bunch of extras. So you know what, I'm going to go to the 28 stuff I wanted to really hit, and then the extras I'll put in a different video. All right, the next thing is that your emotions aren't too big, but regulation is key. I have had to really learn emotional regulation. When you have a parent that doesn't know how to emotionally regulate, they can't teach you how to emotionally regulate. So you have to learn. Again, the rain has gotten heavier. I again will say I live in the tropics. This is just how it rains here. Ain't nothing I can do about that. And I'm not one to put things off. I have the house kind of to myself right now. My brother's asleep, my mother's gone. I'm going to take the opportunity. Anyways, your emotions are too big, but regulation is key. I have had to teach myself emotional regulation because I didn't have a parent that learned how to regulate her emotions. So I always felt as if I was feeling too much of my emotions, and especially because my emotions tend to be delayed. I've gotten better with feeling the thing in the moment. Like when my phone shattered this morning, I decided that I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm not going to do anything. Cancel the plans for today. I need to regulate. Need to figure things out. Usually I would just talk about pushing through it, and I have learned that pushing through it is not for me. Next thing is that it's okay to ask questions. It's okay not to get answers, and it's okay to say no. I am still, hand to God, I'm a big age, still learning to tell people no. And it's hard. I'm not going to lie. It's hard for me telling people no. I don't want to call it people pleaser behavior because I don't necessarily think it's people pleaser behavior. It's just really hard to tell people no, and I find it hard to deal with the uncomfortable emotions that are projected when I tell people no. I don't like it when people are mad at me. I don't like it when they are projecting their anger at me. I really don't take it very well, so I try my best to appease. But the other thing is that it's okay to ask questions. I mean this in all aspects. I ask God questions. I ask my mother questions even when it annoys her. When somebody asks me to do something, I ask as many clarifying questions as possible. But with that, it also comes to, I have to also be okay with not getting answers. Not everybody's going to answer me when I ask them questions, and that's okay. Not everybody wants to be asked a bunch of questions. I can live with that. I know myself. I know I'm kind of annoying. I know I ask a lot of questions. It's fine. You don't have to answer, and I'm okay. I'm still gonna ask though. 18. So this is 19. No, that was 19. This is 20. Again, this ties back to Christianity. God exists and He's everywhere. That's for me. You grow up. A lot of, for me, religion is the fact that it's always been passed down. My great grandmother, very Christian lady. Don't know if she didn't have religion to fall back on, what would have happened to her. My grandmother, also very Christian lady. My mother, extremely, and I am not even joking, extremely. I aspire to have her level of dedication. The level of dedication my mother has to Christ, I aspire. Like, does some of the things she do, and we don't agree on everything. We butt heads about a lot of things. We have a complex relationship, but I admire her dedication because she knows she ain't perfect, but that don't mean she's not trying to be. And I admire that kind of dedication. I will admit, I'll never say it to her face, but I will admit that I can learn a lot from the dedication that she displays. So that was 17, 18, 19, 20. We are going to 21. Intentionality precedes manifestation. And I mean that, and especially today, I wrote down my intentions. I wrote down what I wanted. I made a whole vision board the other night because I know where I want to be in regards to the degree I'm doing, the job I want, I also want to do. I want to make YouTube videos. I know it sounds cringy, and you know what? I don't care. I want to make YouTube videos. I want to have a successful podcast. I want to have a thriving community. I want to be a content creator. I want the attention. I want the money. I want the attention. And I don't mean no whole heap of money. Let's not get it twisted. I'm not out here trying to be a millionaire off of content creation. I don't want to necessarily be a millionaire like that. I don't believe in hoarding money and hoarding resources. That is not me. But I do know that I need money to survive. I can't by myself change the system. I have to live under the system. But I believe that I should be able to exist comfortably without working myself to the bone and killing myself. I believe that I should be able to exist comfortably without working myself to the bone and sacrificing my mental health. I really honestly do believe that. And for me, I'm excited about content creation. I'm excited when I have a YouTube video idea. I'm excited when I get to sit down and talk to the camera. It makes me feel better. I like it. I love it. I don't care how cringy it sounds. And I am going to do it whether I beat my face or I have a perfect camera. My phone is broken. My nice high quality iPhone camera gone. Okay, I'm still going to do it. Right? I have a mic. I have a camera. I have a space. I have an internet connection. I'm tired of not being intentional about the things I want. And intentionality, I know it sounds like a woo-woo witchy. Another tangent, there is more in common. I don't think all Christians want to admit it. There's a lot more in common we have with those woo-woo witchy spiritual girls than we care to admit. We name it different things and we think it comes from different sources, but we have a lot in common with them. Some things you can find truth, you can find facts everywhere, you can find truth everywhere, and it's true. Intentionality does precede manifestation, and I'm being intentional about this because I am manifesting it, and I'm saying it out loud. I'm putting it out there into the atmosphere. I'm putting it into the universe. I am letting what has sat within my spirit for so long, I'm letting it out for other people to hear it and for me to be accountable. I'm going to be successful at this. Cringy as it sounds, I'm going to be successful at it. I'm going to make money off of this. I'm going to make money that will allow me to release some of the pressure from my parents. I'm being intentional about it. I am manifesting it. Amen. Let the church say amen. Oh God, you see, now that I've numbered everything wrong, I was just so happy to be writing all this down. So 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Forgiveness is never for the person who wronged you, it's for you. Forgiving a person, a lot of the thoughts I have about this comes from Boaz. Love Boaz. Try to catch as many of her streams as possible. Just love Boaz. But it is true. I am not forgiving somebody because I'm giving them a pass to hurt me again. I am forgiving somebody because I need to heal from that wound. I'm not saying that you didn't hurt me. I'm not saying that it didn't hurt. And I'm not saying, nowhere in the Bible it says forgiveness is you letting the person back into your life to hurt you again. When the Bible says your brother sins against you 70 times, so you forgive him 70 times 7 in a day, it doesn't mean that you are just letting him stand there and stab at you. Christ did not call all of us to martyrdom, and when he talks about martyrdom, it is not standing up and letting other people hurt you. Martyrdom is giving up your life for the cause. It's not standing up and letting your toxic boyfriend beat you. That's not, forgiveness. That's not forgiveness. A lot of the times, forgiving somebody for doing something to you gives you the clarity to move away from that person, because you're no longer stuck in the wound. Forgiveness isn't for other people, and once I kind of learned that, I let go of a lot of things. letting go of. There's a verse in the Bible where Christ calls the Pharisees and the Sadducees whitened sepulchres. It's one of my, that man, whitened sepulchres. You're walking around with people's corpses, or the corpses of what they did to you, inside of you, rotting you. Let it go. Don't take up back the dead corpse. Leave that person alone. There is a girl, I'm gonna be honest, a girl from high school that I have to work. Every time I think about her, it's a process too. I have to work to remember forgiveness and empathy, and we move. And even right now, bringing her up in my mind, I have to be like, girl, but we move. I don't forgive her for her. I'm not stupid. God made me many things. Stupid was not one of them. All right, that's 22. 23, it's okay to be angry. And I think this has a lot of misogyny and stuff tied up in it, because men get to be angry, but especially if you are a biological woman, you are assigned female at birth, it's not acceptable. If you are a black woman, God have mercy, it is not acceptable for you to be angry. And I mean that societally too. With my mother always asked me, especially when it comes to me talking about women's issues politically, why are you so angry? Somebody has to be angry, and it's completely okay to be angry. God himself got angry, and he acted in the Lord acted in. Now I believe that his anger is holy and righteous. Not all of my anger is holy and righteous, but it's okay to feel it. It's okay to work through it. I just have to regulate, but the anger is fine and sometimes necessary. It is completely, do not let anybody tell you that you shouldn't be angry about something. There's only one time in the Bible that God asked Jonah. It is the last verse in Jonah, where he asked Jonah, do you have any reason to be angry? And it was within context, because God was having mercy on some people who those people had been horrible to the Israelites at the time. And God, they repented, they turned their ways, and God did not strike them like he was planning to. And Jonah was angry and sulky, and God looked at him, and Jonah was resting under a tree, and God sent a worm to eat the roots of the tree so that Jonah would have to burn up in the hot sun. And Jonah was so mad and he was so upset, and he's like, you never met the worm, you never met the tree, so how are you angry when the tree dies? And Jonah sits there. I think another tangent, I think one of the things that we forget is that the Bible is stories about people, and people have not changed. People have always been people. And God has always had grace with us as people, because he did create us. He knows exactly what we're like, and he has the grace to know that we see in 4 dimensions, whereas he sees everything at once. We can't see the full picture, he can, but he graciously allows us to walk through it. He asked Jonah, do you have any reason to be angry? And you know the good thing about when God asks you a question, you're allowed to answer. Because if Jonah didn't know that he had a reason to be angry, he would have said yes, and this is why I'm angry. And God would have talked to him, because God doesn't just leave you hanging. If you're like sincerely talking to him, I don't always get the answer I want. And I don't hear him all the time, but I do talk to him, because I know he does answer. Not all the time with words, but sometimes. Yes, it's okay to be angry, and if you do have reason, you say yes and you answer the question. God ain't a big stick sitting on waiting to hit us. 23, 24, isolation is not loneliness. The loneliest I have ever felt was always within groups of people, because I never fit, right? Isolation, and I mean that in a healthy way, is usually where I come to reconnect, to find myself, to recharge. When I feel unhealthy isolation coming on, that's when I usually try to talk to somebody. And it's one of the reasons why I'm kind of not mad that I still live with my parent, with my mom. There usually someone here. Even if I'm trying to isolate, there is someone here. And even if I can't talk to her about what's going on, I can have a conversation with her. There's another I call her my sister-in-law. She and my brother aren't married, but like they're dating, so I just call her my sister-in-law. She also is here a lot, especially during the weeks. She is one of, right now, my greatest friends. She's such a sweet girl. I love her so much, and when things happen, I do talk to her, and she's always been, and I'm glad that vice versa, when things happen, she gets to talk to me, and we can talk each other the things I learn from her. I hope that I have things to teach her. Love that girl though, I swear. So isolation is not loneliness. Don't confuse the two. I was 23, 24. Sit with bad feelings and discomfort. There are answers in them. I think that one is a little bit self-explanatory. Things happen and we feel uncomfortable, and a lot of the times nowadays, when I was little, I would take up a book. Nowadays, take up a phone, take up my laptop, go on the internet, go on social media, find a distraction. This is what meditation, I think, also kind of is. Sit with the bad feeling, sit with the discomfort, understand it. There's answers in that, especially with the whole, we shouldn't spend all of our lives trying to know ourselves too much internally, but we have to know ourselves to some extent, and what makes us uncomfortable gives us information about ourselves. What causes us discomfort gives us information about ourselves. Like, I know I don't like certain things, I really don't, and I have to sit with that discomfort because you have to push through it sometimes. It's just the facts of life. 22, 23, 24, 25. All right, let me go 26, 27, 28. Yeah, I really should have numbered this better. All right, because this about 28 is kind of long. I'm going to do some other stuff. So for 26, I am going to go with, God does not in fact work in mysterious ways. He does perform wonders though. I heard this so much when I was growing up, because my great grandmother would say God works in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that God works in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform. God doesn't necessarily work in mysterious ways. He knows who he's dealing with. Does he do things that we don't understand? Sure. That doesn't mean he's mysterious. He's always very clear. In the Bible, he's always very clear. God is not hiding from you. He's not mysterious. He's very, very clear, very intentional. God is an intentional God, not a mysterious God hiding from you in the shadows. One of my favorite book series as a child was The Chronicles of Narnia. And Aslan is meant to be a stand-in for Christ, and his father, the emperor over the sea, a stand-in for God, right? And you present it in a way that children can understand. The emperor over the sea, though we never see him, he was not necessarily mysterious. He was just not the most important character in the story, but he was very intentional. He created this world. He created Aslan, and Aslan created the world, and he gave Aslan. And Aslan was always very intentional, to the point where he followed his own rules. That's a whole other tangent for another time. I can talk about my love of The Chronicles of Narnia, which now that I have oodles of time, I used to have the whole box set, and with all of the moving we did, I've lost a lot of the books. I'm planning to buy the ebooks and reread them. God does not work in mysterious ways. God works in very obvious ways, and yes, but he still does perform wonders, 27. It is never too late to try something new, start over, or change your mind. I'm 28 years old and I'm doing a second degree. Like, I am the oldest person in my department. I'm doing an arts-based degree, a literature-based degree. in a time where people think AI is threatening to take the job of authors and editors, I don't want to be an author per se. Like, yeah, I would love to write a book someday, everybody does, but I really love books. I really want to get into them. I want to edit them. I want to be in those spaces where unique voices, like, so I can get those unique voices heard, right? Because we hear so much of the same perspectives. I want to be in the room so that I can be there, so that other people who are like me, or people with similar experiences to myself, or experiences that are so different from mine but wouldn't be heard, they get a chance to be heard. That's my goal, right? That's my goal. I want to get into one of those big editing companies, and I want to change the life of people, because books change lives. And AI, a generative AI, I'm not against all AI, because I know not all artificial intelligence is generative. Generative AI does not have the spirit or the soul of a human being, so they can't do what a human being does. Okay, end of rant. Oh my god, I moved the camera again. Oh my god, you all are getting a very authentic view right now. And lastly, 28 is very long, so I'm just going to read it as it is. And then this video that is now an hour and a half long probably is going to be over. But again, before I read this last one, thank you so much for sticking it out with me. I hope that you have something to say. I really want to hear what other people have to say. That's the joy of doing something like YouTube, is the fact that other people will give it a chance, and you'll be able to scrub through. I will put all the points, list them. Oh, I should have said in the beginning that there will be timestamps. I'll definitely 100% edit in something that says that there will be timestamps below. I'm going to do number 28. Please, if you made it this far in the video, comment some clouds. I do love clouds. I love bubbles, I love flowers. I do love the cutesy things. One of these days I'm going to do a video about like what my pick me phase was like, and how I had to like claw my way out of the pick me phase. But thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. I know that it takes a really special type of person to take a chance on a smaller YouTuber, on videos that don't have a lot of views, channels that don't have a lot of views. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. You can check out my Substack. I am writing something to go on there now. It should be published by the end of the week. And you can also check out, I started a Ko-Fi, or coffee. I say Ko-Fi, ish, probably is coffee, but for $3 I will be writing a short story for you, which I am really excited about. I am really excited to actually start getting some of those, so that I can like practice my creative writing, and B, kind of stretch my chops. I really do love writing. I love editing other people's writing. At some point when I've done more editing courses, I will probably also be offering editing, because I will be formally trained. Anyways, we're going to get to number 28. Thank you for spending your time with me. I don't take it for granted. I do appreciate that you spent your time with me. If you're crafting, as a crafty girly myself, tell me what you are working on while you're listening to this video. Tell me what it is. Tell me if you finished. I am not at this stage yet where people can share pictures, but I'm going to put out a community post, all kinds of stuff. So finally, number 28, give yourself grace. You are consistently and constantly growing, changing and developing. Humans aren't static, and you will mess up, but that's okay. That's life. You're still breathing, still existing. You never thought you'd make it this far, but here you are, living despite it all. I can tell my baby self it gets better. Not easier or less hard, but better. And she will be proud to see that she made it to today. Thank you so much for watching this video. Again, I just want to emphasize how much I appreciate you. Boop the like button if you liked it. Subscribe so you will be able to see my content. That I'm really serious about this 3-month lock-in, guys. together forever together, locked in, tight like a booty hole, locked in for these 3 months. Thank you for having faith in me. I hope you were entertained. I hope it wasn't too boring. I know this video is quite long. I really do appreciate you guys. I appreciate the comments. Once they come, I'll be responding to all of them. You guys are like just really great. I appreciate that you're here. If you're new here and you actually watched all of this video, you are insane, and you should subscribe, because you know what? That means you are an intellectual and you like hearing other people's thoughts, and we love intellectuals around here. I am going to cut this off. I'm going to get to editing on this on my, I love her, but she is hard to work with. Love her, but she's hard to work with. So I did mention my Ko-Fi. If you want to donate to me getting a new laptop, that would both help me with YouTube and school. Any amount is appreciated. I live in Jamaica. The US dollar stretches much further here than it does over there, let me tell you that much. The world is really scary right now. Even on my tiny island, I feel it. Please make sure you're taking care of yourself, you're drinking your water, you're taking your meds. Love yourself, even if you're not loving life right now. At some point, if you love yourself far enough, you can love yourself into loving life. I love you guys. Oh my god, I can't do it and hold the mic at the same time. Love you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.